This is my presentation on Mailuu-Suu in Kyrgyzstan. I'm Mehek Paul, an MPH candidate in the fall semester of Global Environmental Health Section 1. An objective of this presentation is to understanding the history of the secret uranium mining town called Mailuu-Suu in the Soviet Union. Uranium was first discovered in the region in 1933, and within 20 years, 10,000 tons of uranium oxide were extracted in Mailuu-Suu. Residual radioactive waste in southern Kyrgyzstan currently poses a major environmental threat to the densely populated parts of the Fergana Valley, home to about 14 million people. The table of contents is History of Mailuu-Suu, map of radioactive waste in the Fergana Valley, risk of landslides in Mailuu-Suu Central Valley, figure showing nuclear tailings across the valley, 1958 nuclear tailings, dam failure, health impacts of radiological waste in Mailuu-Suu, excessive typhoid cases, cases of birth defects and radioactive substances in placenta, cases of cancer between 2006 to 2015, and figures showing different sources of pollution in the valley and efforts to clean up. History of Mailuu-Suu. Mailuu-Suu is a mining town in the Jalalabad region of southern Kyrgyzstan. Its area is 120 square kilometers and its resident population was 22,853 in 2009. It has been economically depressed since the fall of the Soviet Union. From 1946 to 1968, the Zapadnya mining and chemical combine in Mailuu-Suu mined and processed more than 10,000 short tons of uranium ore for the Soviet nuclear program. Radioactive tailings that were created in the process were dumped around the town near geological fault lines without consideration of hydrogeological conditions or the health of the local population. Today, 36 waste dumps are scattered throughout the area, containing a total of 1,960,000 cubic meter of unsecured radioactive mining waste. 26 of these waste dumps are located directly within the city boundaries of Mailuu-Suu with its 25,000 inhabitants. Radioactive waste in the Fergana Valley. This is an image where you are able to understand how much waste is present in different parts of this valley. And as you can see, the area covered by Mailuu-Suu is the greatest. So it is the most radiologically active area in this Kyrgyzstan valley. High landslide risk in Mailuu-Suu. This region is particularly prone to landslide hazards and during the last 50 years has experienced severe landslide disasters in the vicinity of numerous nuclear waste tailing dams. Now, unfortunately, when the Soviet Union dispersed, it did not take care of any of the uranium mining towns that were created by the Soviet Union, and nobody paid any attention to the geological fault lines that were beneath these particularly vulnerable areas. As you can see in this figure, there are different scales of um, just earthquakes that have taken place in these areas, and this is the Richter scale. So most of it is showing the Central Valley in Mailuu-Suu, which is a highly um, unstable area which has radioactive waste. And in case of a landslide or heavy rainfall, the spillover contaminates the water, land, and air of the nearby um, and impacts the nearby population. This figure shows all the nuclear tailings in Mailuu-Suu. So as you can see, it outlines the uranium ore layer, it outlines the different layers of the soil, and then the tailings are circled, as well as the population, the city is shown, and you can see how close to this valley this uranium ore is. Um, so it is the city is based in a pretty difficult, vulnerable area. Now, in 1958, nuclear tailings dam failure occurred on April 16, 1958, with mining and processing plants still operational. A combination of poor design, neglect, heavy rainfall, and a reported earthquake caused the number 7 tailings dam at Mailuu-Suu to fail. About 50% of the entire volume of the dam flowed into the swift Mailuu-Suu River, only 30 meters downhill from the breach. The waste then spread about 40 kilometers downstream across the national border into Uzbekistan, then into the heavily populated Fergana Valley, where about 14 million people reside. Some fatalities, building destruction, and contamination of the floodplains were reported as a direct result of the mudflow. Lack of any public response by officials made it difficult to identify fatalities from the April 1958 event, especially as distinguished from everyday exposure. However, over the years, we have been able to detect different harms done to the population by radiological exposure, as we'll go on to see. Health impacts of these radiological exposures and nuclear tailings in this particular region. Contaminated water has led to higher rates of cancer, typhoid fever, and birth anomalies. Cancer epidemiological research conducted in Mailuu-Suu between 2006 and 2015 found that 197 people died from cancer and 235 new cases of cancer were diagnosed. This has been attributed to high concentrations of radon in the air. According to the Ministry of Health of the Kyrgyz Republic, the cancer rate per 100,000 here was the highest in the country. Lung, stomach, and breast cancer were found to be the most common types of cancer in Mailuu-Suu, and another study showed that the rates of some cancers of digestive organs were 2 times higher among people who drank water from the river than those who did not. Excessive typhoid cases. Now, funnily, even though this area is not within the tropic, there seem to be typhoid cases in the winter, and this has been attributed to the contamination of the water sources, which have radioactive substances, causing the water to remain hot even in the winter months, leading to excessive typhoid cases. Now, as you can see, from 1997, they started recording typhoid cases, and over the years between 97 and 2005, the cases went up to 350 cases in total. Now, another effect of radiation on public health has reflected on higher rates of birth anomalies. 5.12% miscarriages, 12.1 stillbirth rate. I mean, it's higher than any other part of the country. And since 2005, the incidence of congenital malformations has decreased, but it still remains quite high in parts of Kyrgyzstan. And from this figure, you can see over a period of time that birth defects are decreasing, but they're still quite high compared to the rest of the region. Cases of cancer between 2006 and 2015 in this province. Now, you're looking at the new cases in Zone 1, Zone 2, and Zone 3. Now, Zone 2 is the one which has the highest number of cases and deaths due to cancer. And this Jalabad province is the same area around the valley at which we're looking at. And just Mailuu-Suu has so many cases of cancer and so many cases of deaths attributed to cancer. Now, different sources of pollution in Mailuu-Suu. There's air, which is covered by radon, which has the highest percentage of pollution. Then there's food, which is all the fruits and vegetables that are taken from the land. Then there's the soil, and then there's the water. So you can see that the population of Mailuu-Suu is being impacted in every which way. and have very little access to clean water sources. Now, thankfully, there are now efforts to clean up this region. The European Bank for Reconstruction and Development on January 23rd signed framework agreements with the Kyrgyz Republic and Tajikistan, paving the way for EBRD funded projects. Most of the mines were closed by 95, but there has been little remediation of either mining sites or tailings storage facilities, including the World Bank project in 2004. Tailings, low grade ore, and waste rocks from mining were deposited in moderate mountainous terrain and alluvial areas, many near the Mailuu-Suu River and its tributaries. Radioactive substances were stored in 23 tailings and 13 mine waste dumps over an area of approximately 44 hectares. The World Bank contributed 11.67 million into the disaster hazard mitigation project in Mailuu-Suu between 2004 and 2012, aimed at improving emergency management and response by national and subnational authorities. Under the $1.5 million UNDP project funded by Russia, communities near radioactive waste sites have received help to monitor the environment, create jobs, and strengthen the socio-economic structure of 5 towns. This program was completed in 2016, and in 2017, the Kyrgyz Ministry of Emergency Situation plans to begin a full scale remediation of hazardous facilities. Thank you.